message, so a lot up in the air for them.
Cordelia, thanks a lot. Swinging more now on the government review into gambling machines, particular type of gambling machine. The proposals would see the maximum stake on fixed odds betting terminals cut from £100 every 20 seconds to between £2 and £50. Critics have warned that the changes may not amount to enough and that urgent action is needed to tackle gambling addiction. Sky's Joe Tidy reports.
It is. I think I'll have some of that. Yeah, ring big, shindig.
The instant highs of fixed odds betting terminals.
That's 500 quid in the last 7 minutes.
James Lowe won £2,000 in just minutes. But what his social media post doesn't show is what happened next.
It kind of went down and down and down.
So you stopped recording at the point when you started losing? And what did you leave with?
Nothing. Absolutely nothing. And he actually barred me on the spot because I was punching the machine. There was blood and manacles, because I just felt so angry that I'd got up to all that money, and it just went, and that was it. That was it. Done well again today, then.
Cashing out is something James also likes to share online, but it's rare. It's even rarer for him to keep the winnings for long. James has blown his benefits before and had to starve. He sold his belongings to feed the machines. He's been hooked for years.
How often do you think about playing on them?
Every day. Several times a day. 20 minutes ago, it's just there all the time. I'm always thinking, what if there's going to be that jackpot? What if I can win that £2,000 in 4 minutes? Full screen of pounds, come on. Full screen.
James's story is not uncommon. This gambling helpline takes calls from people like him every day. The high maximum stake of £100 a go and large potential jackpots make FOBTs hard to resist for problem gamblers.
Usually the people that contact us who are experiencing problems with a fixed odds betting terminal are engaging in a range of different gambling activities in the betting shop, but they might say that the fixed odds betting terminal is the bigger problem. But what they do with us when we explore things and unpick things with them, we usually recommend to them that they change their gambling behaviour and activity to something which is manageable for them, and for many of them that will be complete abstinence.
The industry says the average loss on FOBTs is only £7.50. They also say schemes like self-exclusion are in place to allow problem gamblers to ban themselves from shops. But James says it doesn't work.
I've literally banned myself from every single shop in Gloucester.
Despite being banned, he played here a couple of months ago unchallenged. And elsewhere in the town, staff didn't stop him.
I was in there 2 weeks ago.
They didn't stop you?
No. Not at all. I lost about £160 in 8 minutes.
Betfred and Ladbrokes have told us they work extremely hard to enforce exclusion orders and are investigating the incidents. James says he hasn't tried to place a bet since and is now on a waiting list for a rehab centre for addicts. Joe Tidy, Sky News in Gloucester.
Let's bring in John White, Chief Executive of the British Amusement Catering Trade Association, who joins us now from central London, as you see. John White, a very good afternoon to you.
Afternoon.
When we look at the case that we highlighted there, somebody who is simply a slave to their gambling addiction, punching the terminal, drawing blood from their knuckles, so deep in despair are they by what they feel is a particular problem with these fixed odds terminals. The government says £100 as a maximum stake is too high. Do you agree?
Absolutely. One can't fail to be moved by the story that we've just heard. It's a tale that we hear from many, many thousands of gambling addicts. And it is why the government is quite right to be proposing a reduction in the maximum permitted stake on FOBTs down to as low as £2. Something that needs to happen, and frankly needs to happen quickly.
Yeah, Tom Watson, Deputy Labour leader, and indeed he was in the Labour manifesto, says the figure we ought to be talking about for a maximum stake is £2.
Yes, £2 is the stake that is available currently on the high street in a category of machine called a category B3 machine, which you can find in adult gaming centres only. There's about 9,000 of those out there compared to the 34,000 B2s that you can find in betting offices.
Yeah. The argument for the status quo, there are several strands to it really. One is that the case study that we identified there, that's addiction pure and simple, and if it wasn't an addiction to fixed odds betting terminals, then it would be to what was going on in the casino, increasingly what happens at home online through internet betting sites. The problem is the attachment to gambling, and at the end of the day, if people want to do that, they are the authors of their own destiny. There's only so much the government, the state can do to stop them.
Yes, the first part of your question, you're quite correct. I don't think that a state reduction to £2 is going to magically solve problem gambling overnight. But what it is going to do, and there's plenty of evidence to support this, is that it's going to reduce the harm that those people can come to. It's blindingly obvious, actually, that if you reduce the stake from £100 to £2, people just simply will not be able to spend the same amount of money. It's physically impossible. So actually reducing the stake enables you to then employ some of the other measures that are available to help with your problem gambling. We heard from GamCare there as a helpline, but there's lots of measures that the industry can take. My sector in particular will use self-exclusion, indeed like the bookmakers.
Does it always work? Sorry, John, sorry to interrupt. It was just the point was made again by our case study that actually he was barred. He requested though to be barred, and actually when the urge took him, he found it quite easy to get in somewhere.
Well, I can't speak for the bookmakers, but in my sector, we're aware that people attempt to breach their self-exclusions. But if you've got well-trained staff, then those people will pick that up and they'll stop the person playing. Now, somebody could come in disguise. It won't be possible to stop everybody every time, but by and large, you can be effective.
Does this discussion ignore certain economic realities in some of our most deprived communities where, for instance, if you walk down the high street, you will see it isn't bijou delis and coffee shops and all the rest of it, it's charity shops and betting shops, it's gambling premises. And given how much the profits of the betting companies are derived from these particular terminals, they say a substantial change in the law would result in job losses, a hit on their bottom line, and the closure of those betting shops that would be replaced by who knows what, nothing probably.
Well, let's unpick that question. There will undoubtedly be a reduction in the revenue that these machines take if there is a reduction in the stake to £2, as it should be. But that is discretionary spend, and that will be spent somewhere else. And the economic benefit to the country as a whole will not be affected by that switch in expenditure. Secondly, we do have to look at the high streets in this country, and if you go and see under the Sustainable Communities Act, Newham Council's proposition, alongside 92 other councils, they want to see a £2 stake because they're fed up with all of the machines